Welcome to @Cronkite News, your social sharing connection where you choose the news. Facebook likes and shares, tweets, retweets, and favorites. YouTube views and subscriptions. We're watching you watch us. From our digital home at cronkitenews.azpbs.org to your television, web browser, or mobile device. Let's get a refresh on the top Arizona news of the week.
Thousands of migrants crossing from Mexico into Arizona have disappeared in the Sonoran Desert. Cronkite News reporter Chelsea Ray Banez went to the border and tells us just how many people have died.
Many of those people, even today, are unidentified, their fate unknown even to their families. One Tucson artist has made it his mission to remember them. Alvaro Enciso builds wooden crosses in his art studio, each one with a red dot meant to represent a place of death.
No, not many people know about 3,000 casualties here, 2,000 people missing.
He makes the crosses to honor hundreds of people who have died crossing the desert from Mexico into Arizona.
The plan was to go there and stand where a person died and see how it felt, try to imagine the story that we will never know.
One of his crosses is for a baby who died here on Aravaca Road, about 11 miles from the border.
And so I put a cross there. And then people learned that this was a baby that never had a chance.
The Pima County Medical Examiner's Office in Tucson reports that more than 2,700 remains have been found in the Sonoran Desert since 2001. About 1,000 of those have never been identified.
On paper, the number one cause of death over the last few years has been undetermined, not environmental related. That's because of the condition of the remains.
Hess said identifying a body is directly related to how long it's been in the desert. Humanitarian groups like the Tucson Samaritans have tried to prevent these deaths by leaving water jugs along the desert trails used by migrants.
We have at least decreased the deaths in the areas that we serve, which are basically between this road and that mountain.
However, Enciso just wants the dead remembered.
In 20 years from now, we'll begin to write this chapter of American history. Is going to be very sad, very shameful that we didn't treat our neighbors right.
The U.S. Border Patrol has tracked nearly 7,000 deaths in the desert since 1998. Often those bodies remain unidentified because their families who are fearful of deportation don't claim them. I'm Chelsea Ray Banez, Cronkite News.
Environmental groups are gathering at the Capitol today, trying to get the governor on board with efforts to fight climate change. Cronkite News reporter Holly Bach is live in downtown Phoenix, where students are gathering and asking for cleaner buses.
And as you can see right behind me, these are our school bus Halloween costumes, and students will be wearing these as they walk around the Capitol later today. I'm currently here at the Chispa headquarters, and this is a Latino environmental group asking for a settlement money from the VW lawsuit that will be used to buy buses with electricity. Now, they were not the only environmental group there at the Capitol later today.
Governor Ducey, your citizens are speaking to you.
Leaders of environmental, business, and faith groups are calling on Arizona Governor Doug Ducey to bring more awareness to the effects of climate change on Arizona and the rest of the world.
To tell Governor Ducey that while the impacts of climate change for Arizona are very scary, the solutions are not.
At the news conference, the director of the Sierra Club demanded Ducey join more than 10 other governors pledging to reduce carbon emissions for cleaner air and improve energy efficiency.
Climate change is the defining moral issue of our time because it affects every single thing on the planet.
What I find really scary is that our future generations have to ask for something that should be an entitlement.
The group sent a letter signed by more than 2,000 Arizonans asking Ducey to support the goals of the Paris Climate Accord. The letter states the U.S. will be left behind unless there is a concerted effort by people at the state and local levels.
There's great opportunity for our economy and for better protecting our environment and the public's health.
Cronkite News reached out to the governor's office for a response and have still not heard back yet. From downtown Phoenix, Holly Bach, Cronkite News.
It was a terror attack in Tucson 6 years ago that left then Arizona Congresswoman Gabby Giffords severely wounded. And the mass shooting in Sandy Hook the following year spurred Giffords and husband Mark Kelly to found Americans for Responsible Solutions, which promotes stricter gun legislation. Now there's change in store for the organization, as Bailey Vogt reports.
Former Arizona Congresswoman Gabby Giffords has been the face of Americans for Responsible Solutions since the gun safety group began 5 years ago. Now, hers will be the name of the group as well.
When we first started this organization, we talked a lot about responsibility. But what we've sort of shifted into is engaging in the basic question of public safety.
Peter Ambler is executive director of the newly named Giffords. He said the organization wanted a name that exemplified courage.
We knew ultimately that there's only one way to go, and that's by naming it after Gabby herself, because there's nobody in this country that exemplifies courage more than she does.
Sonal Marvancheryl, assistant professor of marketing at American University's Kogod School of Business, said that the name change could mean a fresh start for the organization.
Instead of just focusing on maybe Americans for Responsible Solutions, this is now focusing on the person's name. There's a personalization associated with Giffords, who's very much of a household name in Arizona and presumably in Washington.
Marvancheryl also says that naming the organization after Giffords herself can provide a narrative to drive the cause.
It's an advantage because she can definitely use her first-hand experience and story, and now the story becomes part of the brand name.
Ambler says the name change will assist Giffords in its fight for what they see as sensible gun legislation.
It's not a quick fight, it's not an easy fight, but it's something that we need to be committed to over the long haul.
In Washington, Bailey Vogt, Cronkite News.
In addition to the name change for the main organization, Giffords also announced a rebranding for its Political Action Committee and a legal research center, now known as Giffords PAC and Giffords Law Center. Arizona Senator John McCain is continuing his speaking tour, and last night it brought him to where his career of service began. Reporter Bailey Vogt was there as McCain addressed the Corps of Midshipmen at the US Naval Academy.
It is a noble cause, it is your cause, and it's worth living and dying for.
Senator John McCain has given a number of high-profile speeches since being diagnosed with brain cancer this summer, but his address Monday to midshipmen at the Naval Academy may have been the most emotional yet.
You will make sacrifices for your fellow Americans who won't be asked to make sacrifices for you. That's your calling. Thank you for accepting it.
Alexander Laraldi from Litchfield Park said that seeing his senator speak was impactful in a way that his non-Arizona classmates could not understand.
They see him as a POW graduate of the Naval Academy and a naval officer, but I see him as a little more someone who represents the home state of Arizona and who is representing the people I know back in Arizona, and that just means a lot to me.
Midshipmen have to be nominated to the Academy by a congressman from their state. And for Madeline Arbogast from Sarita, that meant a personal connection to seeing McCain speak.
Guys, that's my senator. He nominated me. Like, he's the reason I'm here. And so I was just really happy to be able to know him on a more personal level than the rest of the brigade.
As in other recent speeches, McCain urged his audience to reject the partisan thinking that he says has divided us domestically and isolated us internationally.
We have to remind our sons and daughters that we became the most powerful nation on earth by tearing down walls, not building them.
McCain's message was one about the struggles we face, but also one of hope in what America can be.
I believe in Americans. We're capable of better. I've seen it. We're hopeful, compassionate people. And we still have leaders who will uphold the values that made America great.
That message resonated most with Colin Judstra from Tucson, who said this speech generated a sense of pride for the Arizona midshipmen.
He has seen the best and the worst of our country, and honestly, for him to keep that much positivity in what we believe in and the power that we hold as a world power, it's very, very awesome to see.
In Annapolis, Bailey Vogt, Cronkite News.
With the enrollment period cut in half this year, people only have 6 weeks to sign up for coverage. Reporter Emily Richardson talked with people here in Arizona to see how the enrollment process is going.
The insurance company with the employer costs us about $3,000 a month, and this drastically reduces us and helps us, or else we wouldn't be able to afford that insurance, or we wouldn't eat.
Donald Kennedy is renewing his health insurance coverage today through the Marketplace. He and his wife are retired and depend on the low-cost coverage they signed up for today. Saving money is one of the main reasons David Aguirre from Cover AZ says people are finding insurance through the Affordable Care Act.
It's very important because we know healthcare costs has gone up a lot. So if you don't have health insurance, then when you end up in a hospital or something, then it will break your bank.
Others say ACA coverage helps provide preventative services, many times without charging a copay.
Cervical cancer, breast cancer screenings, all the stuff that people can access when they have health insurance at no copay, that's just really critical. We've heard stories from women who've had breast cancer diagnosed early enough so that they have a simple lumpectomy, they're able to recover quickly from cancer.
Cover AZ wants Arizonans to use their website to connect with local application assisters such as Cogue Health Connection Center in Phoenix. Having assistance with your application can increase your savings on health insurance.
People that fill out an application on their own are much more likely to make mistakes.
Kennedy says he believes it's important for the general public to get help with finding coverage.
Representatives are very knowledgeable, where we're just out there kind of stumbling around the internet trying to figure out which way to go and which plan would be the best, and they kind of compile it all here and everything's right in one area.
All you need to do to get help finding coverage is make an appointment and bring in the proper papers and identification. In Phoenix, Emily Richardson, Cronkite News.
Cover AZ is allowing Arizonans to make appointments for help finding coverage through December 15th.
Haunted houses are popular around this time of year, but would you knowingly buy a house rumored to have ghosts?
Enkiriko Marinier is at the Hotel San Carlos in downtown Phoenix. Long rumored to be haunted, she's been looking into what sellers have to disclose when it comes to those rumors.
This hotel has offered ghost tours in the past that have attracted a lot of curious visitors. However, that is not always the case for the real estate industry, where selling a potentially haunted house would only attract the bravest of buyers.
Yes, Casey Moore's is a haunted house.
David Schleifer is the general manager of Casey Moore's Oyster House in Tempe. He's been working at the bar since 1989, and in that time has seen his share of paranormal activity.
All of a sudden, my tie went to the left, and it went back to the right. And I felt it, and I stopped.
In 1983, Patricia St. Vincent did not know the house was haunted until after she bought it. Arizona law says that sellers must disclose certain things about a home, such as its structural integrity and environmental issues it may have. Paranormal activity? Not on the list.
When it comes to like a haunted house, that's what's called like a psychological effect of the property. So there's no obligation to disclose it automatically in Arizona.
Salvion says if asked, sellers have to tell the truth about if a house is believed to be haunted. A case in New York dealt with a seller who had previously advertised the house as haunted, but held that information when a potential buyer asked about it.
So later the buyer was able to get out of the deal because there was no investigation that the buyer could have done.
You have to do your due diligence, do your research, maybe talk to the neighbors, and find out if the house is rumored to be haunted.
Real estate agent Shelly Sakala says the Hotel San Carlos is believed to be haunted, which is a reason some people stay there. But at Casey Moore's, they say ghost rumors are not really a selling point.
It just comes with the charm and the mystique, and it's a story to talk about.
A recent study on Realtor.com says that 33% of people would be willing to live in a haunted house, depending on the type of paranormal activity. In Phoenix, Enkiriko Marinier, Cronkite News.
A $250,000 grant will help an urban farm that feeds the homeless. To do even more, reporter Tim Johns takes us to St. Vincent de Paul's urban farm to see what this money will mean.
Nika Forte is the coordinator for the St. Vincent de Paul Society's Urban Farm, a program designed to combat food insecurity for homeless people by providing them food grown freshly on their farm.
It was to get more of the homeless guests that we service on campus eating more nutritious and healthy foods.
For many of the people that St. Vincent serves, the food provided to them is an invaluable part of their lives and might be the only meal that they have all day.
Having a meal and a wholesome meal, like fresh vegetables and fresh fruits, helps these people get out and go to work.
Although founded only 4 years ago, the program has proven successful and now feeds hundreds of people every day. The farm will now undergo a massive renovation thanks to a $250,000 grant that it received from Valley Partnership. That money will help the project expand its services to include providing educational and employment training.
We're also starting up an apprenticeship program where we partner with more Martori farms and some of our local nurseries and farms to get clients who work with us in the urban farm working the skills they need to work and get back into society to be more sustainable and can take care of themselves.
Because for Forte, it's not just about helping those in need.
It's more than just a place for us to grow food. We want it to be kind of a vehicle for whole health and wellness.
And Forte is looking forward to having her plate full with the new program starting up on the farm. In Phoenix, Tim Johns, Cronkite News.
The urban farm's renovations will double its current growing capacity in addition to providing the new apprenticeship programs. The farm plans to have renovations completed by Saturday, November 4th.
For 40 years, one teacher taught at Thunderbird High School. As Cronkite News reporter Monica Sampson shows us, after her passing, several generations of alumni are working to remember her legacy to the arts.
There it is. This one is super great.
Karen Duckworth Barnes, Thunderbird theater student from class of '96, pores over photo albums, remembering Jane McSpadden, known fondly as Mac.
I just think it's funny that my picture ends up next to her picture.
Mac started teaching theater at Thunderbird in 1977 and didn't retire until 2003. But she stayed with the school's theater program until 2013 when she was diagnosed with an aggressive form of cancer and passed away soon after.
And by the time I realized that, okay, I need to go see her, I need to say goodbye, it was too late. And that has been really hard this whole time. It's been probably one of my greatest regrets is that I didn't get to tell her thank you and I didn't get to say goodbye.
Duckworth Barnes knew if she felt this way, other students might too. So she created the Mac Memorial for alumni to share the hundreds of letters, shows, and memorabilia from their late teacher, all of which culminates with a school play. 4 generations of students experienced Mac as their teacher, and in 1999, they performed the very same play that today's students will be performing in.
When she passed away, I thought, she really loved this play, and she never got to see the adaptation that we're doing right now, but she would have loved it. And so I said, let's just do this in her memory.
One major adaptation to the play, students will be acting alongside Thunderbird alumni from every generation. Students like junior Maddie Fowler.
To see how 2 different generations of Thunderbird theater students have really come together to form one show.
Proceeds from the play will go toward a marquee project in Mac's honor. But for now, Thunderbird is celebrating Mac the only way they know how, through theater.
That is Mac. The fact that people can say, Mac meant everything to me. She saved my life. She was the best part of my high school experience. I wouldn't be here today if she hadn't been my teacher. I hear it over and over again, dozens of times. That's why this project exists.
In Phoenix, Monica Sampson, Cronkite News.
If you want to see The Boys of Winter, it runs November 3rd and 4th at Thunderbird High School, and all proceeds go to benefit the Marquee Project.
In nearly 2 months after President Trump's decision to end DACA, students at ASU are still showing their support for Dreamers. They did so in a big way by marching through ASU's Tempe campus, calling attention to the issue and reminding people the fight continues. Cronkite News reporter Fortessa Latifi was there as ASU students took to the streets.
This is what democracy looks like!
All different kinds of voices coming together as one and fighting for the rights of Dreamers.
I'm an ally, so I support DACA and I support their rights to be here.
I have an undocumented DACA sister who is also a recipient, and I am here for her.
According to estimates by ASU's administration, there are between 250 and 300 DACA students at ASU.
Thursday's march was also used as a battle cry against Arizona Attorney General Mark Brnovich. Brnovich is currently suing the Arizona Board of Regents, alleging too many sharp increases in tuition in Arizona public universities. However, for some who participated in the demonstration, the real reason behind the lawsuit is to deny in-state tuition for DACA students.
Please don't take away our education. We want to get educated and give back.
We want to uplift communities and people from all backgrounds.
At one point, students read from their newly written Sun Devil Constitution.
All students are equal, regardless of skin color, nationality, gender, immigration status, or appearance.
With uncertainty looming in the future, DACA student Vasti La Madrid says demonstrations like these give her the strength to face what may come next.
And I feel like it's not just us, we have a whole community behind us. So it's definitely empowering, and we definitely feel like we're strong enough to fight whatever it is that we have to.
In Tempe, for Tessa Latifi, Cronkite News.
If Congress doesn't act in favor of DACA recipients by March, as many as 30,000 people per month for the next 2 years could lose their protected status. Common items like laptops, tablets, even children's toys. The Transportation Security Administration says they've all been used to disguise explosive devices. That's why the TSA is now requiring flyers to go through another security step before boarding a plane, as Cronkite News reporter Andrew Nicola explains.
A banana and an e-reader may not seem to have much in common, but to security screeners at the nation's airports, the two items can look like explosives are hiding in your luggage. That's why the Transportation Security Administration is now requiring that any electronic device bigger than a cell phone be put into its own bin for X-ray screening.
We're asking people to remove their small electronic devices larger than a cell phone from their carry-on bags and put them in a bin with nothing above them, nothing below them, so we can get a good, clear image of a good, clear X-ray image.
Farbstein showed how those devices can be taken apart and used to hide explosives. As for the bananas, foods with that consistency can look like explosives on the scanner, so TSA is suggesting, but not requiring, that you take them out too.
People in Phoenix Sky Harbor have experienced this possibly longer security process, but starting soon, people across the country could begin to see changes in their wait times in their airports.
TSA concedes the extra steps might add to wait times, and it is again reminding travelers to leave plenty of time before their flights. But Farbstein said the new measures don't ask flyers to do much more than they have already been doing.
You know, people have been doing something very similar with their laptops for years. We've been asking them to remove their laptops from their carry-on bags, and we're asking them as well to remove their large electronics, larger than a cell phone, their personal electronic devices, and do the same. It's really not that complicated.
The goal, she says, is to stay one step ahead of the terrorists. Reporting at Dulles International Airport in Virginia, Andrew Nicola, Cronkite News.
Sky Harbor was one of 10 airports where the new process was tested earlier this year. And with the national rollout, 8 more airports in Arizona now require the screening, with Tucson International Airport adding the requirement last week.
Arizona PBS congratulates Ted Simons, host and managing editor of Arizona Horizon, on his 2017 induction to the Emmy Silver Circle Society. We're honored to be your friends and colleagues as we celebrate your 25 years of broadcasting excellence.
Hello from the children of planet Earth.
Exploring, it's the lifeblood of the mission.
Human beings are a curious bunch.
What are we going to see when we get really close?
Wow.
Just because an idea is crazy, it's not necessarily wrong.
We were on our way.
You don't get anywhere until you've tested the limits.
That carries an intensity you can't imagine.
You could hear people just, whoa.
Oh my God, absolutely spectacular.
It's a rush. We ask a lot of our heroes.
We are at a remarkable moment.
We're going farther than any exploration ever has.
Now, here's an @Cronkite News pick of the week, a favorite from the Cronkite News staff.
The death of a Moon Valley High School football player has been ruled accidental. Investigators say 16-year-old Carlos Sanchez died of blunt force trauma to the head while blocking in the team's game on October 20th. Cronkite News reporter Tyler Paley went to the school's final home game on Friday and saw an outpouring of community support.
It seemed like any other football game. The band playing, the cheerleaders flying, and plenty of big plays.
The mood today is actually very, very good. Everybody's glad to be here.
But this was no ordinary football game. Back on October 20th, 16-year-old Carlos Sanchez took this field. On a play, he was making a block. He took a hit. He got up under his own power and made his way to the sideline, where he collapsed and started seizing. 2 days later, he died at a Phoenix hospital.
On Monday, I was in a cloud of guilt and doubt and fear, and I tried to talk them into not playing this game.
Coach Milliken and the staff said, if you don't want to play, we understand. We're not going to force you to play. Again, it's your guys' decision. And from what I understand is more than 95% of the remaining players said that they wanted to play.
The game wasn't close, and the Rockets lost to Peoria by a score of 53-8. But the memory of Sanchez is what prevailed on Friday night. And to Milliken, that's the best legacy he could leave.
Off the field, just always had a smile on his face. Always, he was the kid walking up and down the sideline trying to keep people's spirits up when the game went bad. He was just a source of strength for this team.
The Arizona Interscholastic Association told Cronkite News the school followed the proper protocols and emergency procedures after the play. In Phoenix, Tyler Paley, Cronkite News.
Now, if you want to help, the team's Booster Club has set up a GoFundMe page for the Sanchez family. Visit our website at cronkitenews.azpbs.org to find out more.
Cronkite News tracks your likes, tweets, and shares from all our social sites to bring you this special at Cronkite News, our weekly refresh. Join the conversation so you choose the news. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, subscribe to us on YouTube, and log on to cronkitenews.azpbs.org for top Arizona stories anytime.